buddy. Hey, good morning, buddy. Hi, Scout. You want to come out? Hey, buddy. Hi. Hey, hi, buddy. I know you don't like the camera on him. Hi. Falcor. Why are you bugging him? Don't get scared. It's okay. I got you. Where are you going?
Hey guys, I shot parts of this video on 2 separate days, so I'm just gonna clip the beginning of it together with the stuff that I shot, and hopefully you can forgive me for the weird segue. Hey, what's up guys? Dro here. I just wanted to shoot a quick video today just to answer a couple questions and go over some things that people have been asking for quite some time in the comments section. So I've noticed that even on my videos with Luna, that people are asking me to do a video about Scout and how you can own Fennec Fox or whether or not they're good pets. So I figured I'd do a video just to kind of go over some of the things that I'm asked on a regular basis. Before I start answering all of the questions that you guys have sent in, I wanted to give a little bit of background on myself and on Scout and how I ended up getting him. Since I was probably 14, 15 years old, I started working in actual stores that carried exotic pets. And I was in that industry for quite some time. I even ended up owning my own shop and doing a bunch of other stuff that dealt with wild animals. It was an industry that I wasn't really happy being a part of. I love animals, I've always been compassionate about them, but I don't think that the people in the industry really care about them as much as I do, and then it just hurts to see all of the bad things that happen to these animals because of people who aren't educated or people who just happen to have money and want to buy an animal because they think it's cool. First things first, can you own a Fennec? Well, that's a tricky question. It depends on where you live and the laws in that area. So you have to find out if your state allows it, you have to find out if your city allows it, and then you have to find out if wherever you're living allows it if you're renting. Some states require that you have a permit to have a Fennec, and usually that's a Class 3 wildlife license. Sometimes what they do is they'll send out a fish and game officer to your house or wherever you have listed on your permit, and they'll come by and they'll check out your enclosures, make sure you have the proper enclosures for the animal that you have. And this goes with any exotic pet, really, that requires a permit.
I bet you're wondering why I'm whispering. It's because I have one of the best listeners here with me today. Hey, Scout. Say hi to everyone. As you can see, he doesn't really like all the cameras and lights in his face, so I'm going to be as quiet as I can be so that he can feel comfortable and not be scared while he's with me. So this is Scout. He's a Fennec Fox, and he's actually 8 years old. I've had him since he was a baby. He's fairly quiet now compared to the videos that you guys have seen in the past from him. Those videos were made a long time ago, 8 years ago, when he was a little kid. So he was very hyper, very playful, and all he wanted to do was run around and be a maniac. But now he's calmed down a lot since he's a lot older now, and generally they live to be about 14, 15 years old in captivity, and in the wild sometimes it's 4 to 6 years because of predators and other things that can get them sick and harm them in the wild. Scout has actually been used to me holding him, obviously, since I've had him for so long. So he gets really chill and quiet when I'm holding him, but he's not like this with strangers. A lot of the times he will be really skittish if strangers are around or if he hears new noises, and that's something that a lot of people need to consider if they're thinking about owning a Fennec Fox. If you live in a house with little kids running around screaming, or if you live in a house that you have a lot of friends come over all the time, it's probably not a good idea to get a Fennec Fox, because they do tend to like to have their own personal space when they get older, and they don't like loud noises, obviously, because they can hear it very well. You can't really treat a Fennec Fox as a regular pet, unfortunately. When I say that, I mean like a cat or a dog, because, well, they're not a cat or a dog. They're Fennec Foxes, and people tend to see a lot of the videos online of them being cute and cuddly and playful and playing around with other animals, and that's all great, but that's not always the case. So I always suggest in all my videos that I do about exotic pets that you should really do your research, and that is obvious with any pet. You don't want to go into it not knowing what you're getting, not having the right setups, not having the right food to feed them. So I would always suggest to just read a lot about it, and don't just go by the videos that you watch online, because you're going to see all the good sides like this when they're calm. But you got to realize that this isn't the case all the time. And I've been working with these animals for almost 20 years now, so I know what to expect when it comes to any of them. Bringing them inside of a home or out in the wild, I know what they act like, I know what they need, just because I've been around and helped take care of them for so long. With Fennec Foxes, you can't really bring them everywhere you go because of how skittish they get. He's calm now because it's just me alone talking, but trust me, if there was other people here or if it was a crowded room, he would be going nuts right now, not wanting to stay up on me. But he's just so used to me, and he knows that I'm not going to hurt him, so he's comfortable when he hears me and when he sees me nearby. It's just when anybody else or any other animals are around, he starts getting really skittish, he starts screaming, and they get very agitated quick. They do get grumpy as they get older. I haven't been around a lot of female foxes, to be honest, because most breeders always hold them back so that they can breed them again. But all these years that I've been working with foxes, it's generally been around males. As you may have seen in my other videos, before I got Scout, I also had Spooky, which was an Arctic fox. And he unfortunately had to be put down because he had epilepsy really bad. And after 3 years of having him is when I first noticed he started having seizures. The vets told me they really couldn't do anything for him except for keep him medicated, which I did. But after about 3 more years of him going through that, it just really affected his brain. I know I never really talked about this on camera. It was just really hard for me to talk about. And he ended up, attacking himself whenever he would have a seizure. Then when he would wake up from the seizure, he would attack himself even more because he thought that the pain from where he bit himself before was caused by something that was there at the moment. So he would start attacking himself, and I just couldn't watch him suffer anymore. It was really bad, and unfortunately I had to put him down. I had a really great neighbor at the time who had a friend that was a vet and came to the house, and I actually felt a lot better about doing it that way than having to actually put him through the stress of bringing him to a vet for them to do it there. So it was nice that he got to go in my arms and at his house where he was comfortable. Now with Scout, he's doing great. He's just a little butthead sometimes because, as I said, he's getting a little older, so they get a little grumpy. Another question I know a lot of people have about Fennec Foxes is whether or not they can be potty trained. So they can, but only to an extent. They will use a litter box if you leave a litter box down for them, but they do love to dig. So one of the problems that I found with leaving a litter box is that they'll dig and dig and dig, and it'll get all over the place, and it's very hard to clean up. So I ended up actually building a sandbox for him so I can give him a little more of what he would have naturally. And we took a bunch of pallets and bolted them together, and then put a tarp in there with a bunch of play sand, and it was about like $3 a bag, so it wasn't really expensive at all to fill. And he just hangs out in there most of the day, digging around. We throw bugs in there for him like beetles and worms, and he'll dig and look for the food, and you love it in there, don't you? It's also kind of like a little den for him because he goes in there and hides. He actually ends up spending most of his days inside the box. He just really likes it in there because it's kind of like a den, and it's filled with sand, and we put bugs in the sand sometimes so he can go searching for them. That I should give him everything that he would have in the wild, as much as I could at least. And that's what I hope for anybody else planning on getting a fox as a pet, is that you really do it when you know you're ready and you have the money to give them what they need. I'm sure you've seen in some of my previous videos when I'm opening the door for him to come out in the morning. He still stays there at night because otherwise he will scratch at the door and he'll keep us up all night. So when we put him in there, he actually does go to sleep, and during the day when we let him out, he stays up with the cats and runs around, and then goes back to sleep in his sandbox. Jeez, you can see him, all this fur flying around from him shedding. Petting you, buddy, and you're shedding everywhere. As Fennec Foxes start to get older, they actually do sleep a lot more than you would think. So he has become very easy to manage. He's actually a very well-behaved Fennec Fox. I've been around many who are not. I've met some that will attack their owners, that don't want to have anything to do with humans. And what I've noticed too is it's mainly been the foxes that live with other foxes. The ones that are usually solitary, like Scout is, he does live with other animals, but not other foxes, and he's super sweet around Mel and I. So he's actually become very easy for us to manage in comparison to some of the ones that I've seen. So always know that you may get one that's super calm and cool like Scout is, but then you might have some that are super crazy and don't want anything to do with you. And that's a very real thing to think about when you're getting an exotic pet, is a lot of times you have to remember they are still wild animals with a lot of wild instincts, even though they're becoming closer and closer to being domesticated. His mannerisms these days are generally, if you leave him alone, he is quiet and he'll leave everyone else alone. But when the cats are in his room and he's trying to eat or anything like that, he will get skittish and he'll start yelling at them to get out of the room. Some of the other things I had to deal with Scout growing up is he did go through a couple of phases. He went through a phase just before he started reaching adulthood where he was biting a lot, and it wasn't a mean bite, it was just that they nipped to show affection. He was doing it very hard and it actually hurt. So we would try to divert his attention to something else and try to play with him by throwing a ball or something so that he would stop nipping at us. But eventually that behavior just went away. And then came the humping. He was humping everything. He would hump your leg, he would hump your shoe, he would hump stuffed animals, everything that there was in sight that was fluffy, he would just start humping. And there were some times when I would wake up in the middle of the night and he would be humping my foot through the covers. That was fun, right? And trust me, I really wanted to get him a girlfriend, but I just couldn't at the time. It wasn't the smart thing to do, and I was trying to be responsible. I knew that I could only afford the ones that I had at the time, and it wasn't going to be a good idea to get another one. And if you're wondering what size they get, so this is a full-grown male Fennec Fox, so I'll step back here with him so you guys can see. They're very small. He's about 4 pounds. I've seen some that are actually a bit larger than Scout, and they're usually a little bit overweight. Now, the reason why Scout is as thin and lean as he is, I mean, for his age, because a lot of times people see them a lot bigger than this, is because he's actually very picky with his food. Usually for food, what I do is I leave him a bowl with a variety of different foods mixed in, and then he can choose from what he wants. But since he's so picky, I usually know what I need to put in there to make sure that he's eating. So I mix a little bit of cat kibble in because they do need the taurine. Taurine is actually really important for them, and they have a lot more of it in cat food, and it has to be a high protein cat food, something that's grain free preferably, because it's not really good for them to have those kinds of foods that you would find in the supermarket. So what I also do is I mix in fruits. His favorites are blueberries, but he will also eat other fruits like strawberries, and he's eaten watermelon before. He will eat cherries sometimes, but he doesn't go for them right away. And some of the foxes that I've seen, if you have any food near them whatsoever, they're going to pretty much attack you for it. The only food that he really tries to attack us for, where he'll come up and actually nip you to give it to him, is pizza. It's his favorite food is pizza. And I know it's so bad, so we really don't give it to him. But every once in a while, we'll give him a little piece of crust because he comes over and he just loves it so much. We all love pizza, don't we? Don't we, Scout? Most of my pets now all eat raw, so I figured, why don't we feed Scout raw? And I've tried giving him chicken, I've tried giving him red meat, all sorts of things. I'll even leave it for him overnight inside of his kennel, and he just does not eat it. But I do know what his favorite foods are, so I make sure that those are always around. So some of his favorite foods to eat are blueberries. He does really love bugs like crickets and beetles and superworms, mealworms. Another one of his favorites is actually mice. We don't feed it to him very often. I don't fully know the whole story on it because I haven't really researched it, but from what I hear, the mice that are sold at pet shops have a lot of bad things in them, and I would like to just steer clear from it if I can. I know he really likes them, so every once in a while, like every few months, I'll throw him one. But for the most part, I stick to feeding him the fruits and vegetables and bugs that I know he'll eat and the ones that I know he loves. I know you guys have a lot more questions about training them, their smells, their noises, all of that. I'm gonna have to cut this one short, but feel free to keep leaving messages in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer all of them, and we'll make a second video soon. So you guys keep an eye out for Scout the Fennec Fox. The cutest Fennec Fox in the world. Look, he's like a fire fox. Isn't that like the Firefox logo? But you're not a red fox, but you're still a Firefox. Pokemon! Doo-dum, 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 doo-dum. Oh, and one last thing. I've been dying to talk about this, but I haven't for many reasons. A lot of people see videos of Scout being a little maniac, and they think that whether he's wagging his tail and screaming or being cute or whatever, that he's angry, and he's not always angry. He's just a Fennec Fox, and he's misunderstood, because you guys don't know how Fennec Foxes talk, okay? Hey, what up? This is Trout, and I got a Fennec Fox. I'm so emo. He's so angry. Why are you bothering him? You should let him go out in the wild. I'm a troll.